Okay, so what if the entire way we think about our own minds is just flat out wrong? Today we're going to dive into this really fascinating and, yeah, completely fictional lost manuscript by the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. And it's a journey that's going to challenge our most basic ideas about what meaning even is, what consciousness is, and what language can and can't do.
Everything, and I mean everything, in this manuscript pivots on this one single question. It seems so simple, right? But it's the key that unlocks his whole way of thinking. When we say we're in pain and we clutch our chest, is that gesture just, a little bit of extra drama? Or is it doing something absolutely fundamental? That is the mystery we're about to get into.
So, to even start answering that question, the manuscript says we first have to recognize something. There's this mental picture that we're all caught in. And this picture isn't just a harmless idea, it's what creates the problem in the first place. It holds us captive.
And this picture, it feels so natural, doesn't it? I mean, we all kind of think this way. We've got our feelings, our pain, our joy, all locked away in this private, hidden inner world. And then our words and our gestures, well, those are just external labels we stick on those inner things, trying to signal what's going on inside to the outer world.
And this is where the manuscript just completely flips the table. It says this whole inner versus outer picture is a huge mistake. We spend all this energy trying to build a bridge from our secret feelings to our public expressions, but here's the radical idea. There is no chasm. The problem itself is an illusion that we created.
Right, so if there's no chasm, then what are we left with? Well, the manuscript offers a totally different way of looking at it. We have to stop thinking of language as a bunch of labels for our private stuff and start seeing it for what it really is, a shared, living, breathing activity that we do together.
And that brings us to this really crucial idea, our form of life. Now, this isn't just about biology or culture. It's the whole shebang. It's the fact that we have bodies that can feel pain, that we live in communities that respond to that pain. Think about shaking hands. It's more than just two hands touching, right? It's a whole practice wrapped up in our culture of greeting, trust, and making deals. That's our form of life in action.
Think about how a kid learns what pain means. They don't get a definition. It starts with just a natural cry, right? An involuntary reaction. Then the grown-ups around them connect the word pain to that expression. And from there, the child learns the whole game of pain, how to talk about it, how other people will react, what it means to be hurt. They're not learning a definition. They're being brought into a shared human practice.
So that gesture of clutching your chest, it isn't a box that holds the pain. It is the pain made visible in a human life. The words, the wince, the cry, they aren't just signposts pointing to some secret feeling inside. They are part of what pain is for creatures like us.
Now, what's so cool is that this new perspective on language does more than just figure out the puzzle about pain. The manuscript shows us how it also clears up all this deep confusion we have about what it even means to be certain about something.
Instead of thinking that certainty is some kind of ironclad feeling of proof in your head, the manuscript gives us this incredible metaphor. Our deepest certainties are like the riverbed. They're not the thoughts themselves, that's the water flowing. They are the silent, solid ground that makes all our thinking and questioning possible in the first place.
And what kind of things are in this riverbed? They're the things that stand fast for us. Not because we have evidence for them, but because to doubt them would make our entire world fall apart. I mean, you don't run an experiment to test the hypothesis this is a hand. You use your hand to test other things. It's the bedrock.
So, the big takeaway here is this. Our most rock-solid certainty doesn't come from having some perfect piece of knowledge. It comes from being part of a shared way of life, from mastering the practices that make us who we are.
Okay, so once we've got that, the manuscript takes us into one of Wittgenstein's most famous and, kind of mind-bending ideas. The huge difference between what our language can say and what it can only show.
So language is amazing at stating facts, right? The kind of stuff you find in science, raw information. But the manuscript argues that the most important things in our lives, ethics, beauty, the meaning of it all, those aren't facts that you can just state. They're realities that have to be shown.
Just think about ethics for a second. You can't prove that being kind is good with a science experiment. Goodness isn't a theory you read in a textbook. It's something that shows up in the world. You see it in how somebody acts, in their choices, in the way they carry themselves through life. It's seen, not said.
So, if the biggest questions in life can't actually be answered with facts, then what in the world is the point of philosophy? The manuscript has a pretty radical answer for that one, too.
The famous fly bottle metaphor. You've got this fly, buzzing around, completely trapped inside a bottle. It's confused, it thinks it needs to discover some amazing new truth to escape, but the exit was always there. The job of philosophy isn't to build grand new theories. It's to help us get untangled, to clarify our thinking so we can see the way out of the traps we've set for ourselves.
And that's the whole game, right there. The point of all this mental heavy lifting isn't to find some brilliant new answer that solves everything. It's to get to a new perspective, a kind of clarity where the puzzles themselves just dissolve. They were never really problems out there in the world, they were just knots in our language.
Which leaves us with this one final, kind of haunting question. If the whole point is to clear away all the smoke and mirrors and just see the world clearly, what is it that we're left with? And the manuscript seems to suggest that what we see isn't an answer at all, but just the simple, stunning wonder that the world, our lives, our gestures even exist in the first place.